Hey guys, welcome back. It is your favorite Gamble the Limp, and I'm here with another review for you. This is a different type of war game. It's an RTS game called Moduwar. This one definitely caught me by surprise, but I've got to say I've thoroughly enjoyed it thus far. The developer for this game is Biohex Studios, and the publisher is Fire Squid. Now, what is Moduwar? It is a RTS game where you do not control an army, you do not build bases. It doesn't operate like that. This game, you control just one creature. Now, it's a Madu. I'm trying to think like it's not a squid, it's not a blob, it's a thing. It's got a brain and it expands. But that is in essence your refinery, your barracks, your tank factory, everything that you would have in an RTS game that you're used to, that is all encompassed into a single growing creature. So in the background, you'll see I have some footage of the game playing. I'm going to keep it to the early parts of the game so I don't spoil too much of the later parts for you. But in essence, you have a singular creature that has its brain and it grows and it attacks. It does collection of resources and all that by growing new appendages for its body. Things like mouths and tentacles and little shooty arms that are basically your cannons. And you will continue to grow your base, your blob out, and adding these little components that will each serve their own little functions. Same premise that you would have in other RTS games. You're trying to take out the enemy or accomplish certain objectives. It's just the way that you go about it in this game is different. So without getting long-winded into the story, you're basically on an alien planet, and there's the indigenous creatures on that planet. Then there's the humans that have come in and kind of colonized the Madu, which is your base creature. And then there are also alien creatures that are attacking as well. So you've got multiple different factions that are all competing against each other. Now, the game uses FMVs to kind of relay these stories, similar to how you would have seen in Command and Conquer back in the old days.
Admiral, team are ready to bring the Modu aboard the ship.
Admiral, our forces in Sector 6D are scattered. Survivors report an onslaught.
I'll tell the team time's not on our side.
No, we don't have time for that.
But the Modu...
You know, the real corny full motion video with like the handmade studio and everything. And this one we have 8 of 9, as I call him, who's basically your point of contact with your Madu. He's bonded. He really loves his Madu, doesn't want to leave its side. But that's how the game relays the story to you. The humans talking back and forth to each other kind of unfolds the story out because, of course, your creature can't speak. Its mouths don't do that type of thing. So they came up with a kind of ingenious way for the humans to tell the story of what's going on. So first off, let's talk about the mechanics. And by mechanics, I mean things like the graphics and the sound and the stability of the game. When it comes to the graphics are solid. They're nothing to, brag about like the best thing ever, but RTS games don't really stand on the graphics all that much. Usually it's more of a gameplay that you're looking for. A RTS game that's really good can have just pixelated graphics and just do well anyway. Command and Conquer, again, is a great example of this. Now, the graphics here are a lot better than Command and Conquer-esque, and I do have to say that the water effects that they have done are really well done. I like the water effects and the graphics. And of course, they really needed to do well in the water because your creature can only exist in the water. So you're going to be, in some type of ocean or river or canal pretty much through the entirety of the story. So they're going to have to dedicate a lot of resources to the water graphics, which I got to admit, the water looks better than the land does, but they're not spending very much time on the land. So it makes sense for them to have the water look better in the game. When it comes to the sound of the game, sounds serviceable. Music it's okay. I'm not that big into music in the game, so I don't really worry about it too much. but it does fine for just background music for the RTS game. The sound itself has a real slimy feel to it. You're always hearing these squishes and plop, back and forth. But again, that's to be expected because you have this blobby creature that you're controlling. So everything's going to have that spitty, gunky sound to it. So it's very thematic to what you are controlling in this game. Now, when it comes to the gameplay, first we'll talk about the mechanics of the gameplay itself. For the most part, we're solid. For the most part, the good news is the parts that aren't working quite well right now in early access, they already know and they're already in the process of working on. One of the biggest issues I noticed in the game was pathfinding. Pathfinding is an issue right now, but they've already let me know that they know they're addressing it. They're working on it. But issues like controlling your big blob as it's moving around, and you do have the ability to break it into pieces. I'll touch on that more here in a little bit, but breaking it into pieces and then having those pieces move. Sometimes I would click a spot, tell my part to go over there, and it would either cut down a different tributary or just stop. And I had to more than once go back and kind of pathfind for it to get it to where I wanted it to go. So it's not really intuitive just yet. Also, when it came to using your ranged weaponry, your tentacle spitters, at some of land based targets, that ended up causing problems because your creature is this little blob and it's trying to fire at land based stuff. But if you have your weapons in different configurations, you're going to find your blob kind of spinning around trying to find its best angle as all the weapons are trying to come to bear, but they can't. And then, God, I hate those little freaking monkeys at the start of the game, throwing rocks or spinning at you, whatever they're doing to attack you. But they have a pretty far range, and you don't have as far of a range. So you're trying to get up on them. They're running back and forth, and your creature's going back and forth trying to get shots on target, and it just didn't work quite that well. I found my Modu kind of getting stuck on the terrain sometimes as it's trying to get to its target. Now, for the most part, that wasn't a huge issue. There were only a few spots where I really had that problem. For the most part, it controlled really well. And considering it's still in early access and they already have addressed these issues, they know these are issues and they're working on them, I'm not horribly worried about it. I was still able to play through the missions fine, worked around the issues with the pathfinding. It's a pain in the butt, but it's nowhere near game breaking. So when it comes to the gameplay itself, what did I like about this? Well, the big thing that I liked is it's unique. They are trying something new, and you don't see that too often from so many companies right now. For example, Tempest Rising is an RTS game that released very recently, and it's done very well, and it's received a whole lot of positive reviews. And I can't blame people for liking it because it's what was brought to modern day. They pretty much ripped all the good stuff from Command and Conquer and they put it in a modern skin and said, "Here you go," which I'm sure a lot of people wanted. I can't blame them. It worked then, it's working now. People like it, but there's not a whole lot of innovation to that. They just reinvented the wheel with modern skins on it. And again, I'm not hating on them for it. Tempest Rising's a perfectly good game. No, qualms against it. But they're not trying a whole lot of new stuff. Here, they are taking that risk. They're trying new things. Controlling a single creature isn't something you've seen too much. Now, yes, we had like the Zerg and StarCraft who were a hive mind, but still you had a base that you built and sent out creatures and all that. It's still just another faction. Here, you really just do have one. You have your brain that you're going to grow and you're going to add pieces to it. And those pieces can detach to go off and do other things on their own. And then they can come back and reattach to the base. You really are just controlling one large creature that sucks up the resources around it, grows, develops new pieces. And of course, just like any other game like this, you're going to get new pieces as you go from mission to mission if you're playing through the campaign. For me, once I start figuring it out, I love just blah, 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 blah. I would soak up a bunch of resources. There's obviously harvesting, collecting points in the game. I would sit there, have the little mouth scooping up as many resources as I could, grow my Madu as big as I could, put a bunch of tentacles on it, break that piece off, and send it to go attack the enemy while my main base, my main guy, stayed back here sucking up even more resources and growing again. That way, once that one got wiped out, I've got another piece that I've already grown back up that I can send out again. But with that, we kind of come to the rub, the part of it. And it's that controlling the Madu can be a little cumbersome. And it's especially when you're trying to get your resources. Now, one of the things I mentioned to him is I like to turtle in my RTS games. You don't hate, some people out there like to turtle. So I like to sit back, harvest all that Tiberium I can, build up a whole lot of resources and armies and everything I can get, and then send out a big wave. That's what I like to do. And in this game, it's kind of a problem because your Madu itself is not just your base, but it's also your army and it's also your storage silos. So your storage amount is limited by the size of your Madu. So you have to grow it to be able to have more storage capacity. But the problem is, as you grow to a certain level, your Madu gets slower and slower and slower until it becomes stationary. Once it reaches a certain size, it can't move. And I ended up finding that out, and I was like, okay. So I would suck up a bunch of resources, get my thing really big, and then I would cut it in half and have basically a floating platform of bio junk.
You have no more room for resources.
As just a large storage platform that I could soak those resources back in later. But it ended up being cumbersome and fiddly because I'm trying to pick each individual little piece off, put this tentacle over here, put that mouth over there, have this little piece there. And then you're fiddling with the sizes too, because you want to grow it as big as you can so you can store as many resources as possible, but they're only mobile up to a certain size. So you grow it up to that size, and then you got to take that piece, throw it away, put it off to the side somewhere, start growing another piece. And then if you accidentally attach it back to your main Madu, then you're suddenly too big again, and now you can't move. And that's something that I found myself doing more than once, where I was trying to move pieces around. I would accidentally connect them against each other. They become a huge blob again, stop being able to move, and I'd have to chop it in half, pull that half back over. It's just cumbersome. I know they're working on it. I know they're going to get all that. That's part of the pathfinding, everything fixed up later. But if you're like me and you like to hoard a bunch of resources, just understand you're going to have a bunch of little floating platforms holding all of those resources. Now, I did mention the FMVs earlier. I've seen some people saying that they like them, some people saying they don't. Me personally, I like them. They're very corny. They have that homemade set feel, the not even B level actors, C level actors putting in their all. And my favorite, of course, is 8 of 9, the main human guy who's your kind of counterpart in the game, advocating for his Madu. It's so corny. It's so cheesy. The acting and everything. I know they're doing their best. I'm not hating on them for it. I like it. It really does hark back to those old days of Command and Conquer and those old videos with Kane and Nod. It's not quite to that level, but they've done a good job with what they've got. And they're funny. They're great. I love those little FMV videos. If you are like me and you think fondly back on all those videos with Command and Conquer Red Alert and Tiberian Sun and all that, then you're probably going to love these just like I do. So ultimately, Moduwar does get a recommend from me. They're only asking $15, which is not a lot. I For $15, the amount of new, interesting gameplay that they're bringing to bear here, controlling a single creature, growing that creature, breaking pieces off to go do individual things. You can break off pieces to go harvest somewhere else. You can kind of create a secondary base. Now you've only got one brain, but you can create that. You go harvest over here, and this is going to build up over here, all that type stuff. They've really done something different. And I like to see that. I like to see innovation. It's not hard to reinvent the wheel. It's not hard to take what everyone already thinks fondly of and put a new skin on it and put it out there. Of course, people will like that, but there's no risk involved. And I like to support these developers who are trying something new, uh, to kind of expand our horizons. We don't have an oversaturation in the RTS market anymore. It's kind of dialed down in the past few years. And I like to see some people bringing something out. They're not just coming out with Warcraft, StarCraft, the stuff that we've already seen. Moduwar, completely unique. And for $15, yeah, absolutely worth it. Yes, there are just some issues, few minor bugs here, nothing game breaking, more of irritating, but the devs do know about it and they are in the process of working on it. So yeah, $15, absolutely worth it. But all right, that's going to be it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Y'all make sure you can go check out Moduwar. All right, y'all take care. I'll catch you in the next one.